Hey traders, checking in on the Bitcoin and altcoin space. We have choppy short-term action over the last couple of days as our daily time frames tighten up, but we also have a bearish correlation to the broader stock market today, which is new. We've had a bullish correlation comparative to it for the past couple of weeks. Let's look at what levels are needed for some fear to enter the space and what levels are needed to be held for the bulls to keep their control. So starting it off on the daily time frame, we can see Bitcoin is slightly red comparative to yesterday. It's not very significant, but again, the fact that the S&P 500 is having a solid green day and the tech sector is having a really solid green day, that's what stands out as the difference. Bitcoin has been holding up better than the stock market bulls have been able to, but not today. So that is a little bit of an attention grabber for me, just something to be paying attention to. What I'm noticing is, number one, obviously a clear tightening daily range where we have our all-time high, our daily high or low, and now we're just tightening up, and it's getting a little bit choppy. We had a 4-hour equilibrium that was nice and clear over the weekend. That broke bull. We rejected from 60.1K. All bears, we broke bear. Then we got a bull break. Then we got a... It's a lot of choppy action is the bottom line, and you'll see that often on tightening time frames. If you have an hourly tightening range, the 5-minute time frame can get choppy. If you have a daily tightening range, the 4-hour time frame can get choppy. If you have a weekly tightening range, the daily time frame can get choppy. So that's the scenario that we find ourselves in right now. And honestly, I'm not even looking at anything on the shorter term time frames at this point. I made one attempt over the weekend to enter an aggressive position. At this point, I've got a swing trade on, and I entered it during the daily consolidation back here in the $46,000, $47,000 range. And I've just held it, and I haven't done a lot of trading in the cryptocurrency space over the last 2 weeks, which has been nice. A nice little break, letting the swing trade play out. But I went for an addition. I went to add to my position, which shifted it from a regular swing trade into a more aggressive bullish entry attempt. So I entered on this 4-hour bull break, hoping that we would see our daily high or low, and that would be a quick little another high or low, and then an all-time high over the weekend. And obviously, as soon as we rejected from 60,100, that was your initial red flag. Losing the hourly uptrend was a red flag, and I stopped out on the loss of the 4-hour uptrend. So with the stop level close nearby, entering on the bull break of 59.5K was just fine for me. You know, risk was less than $2,000, which when my stop level is close, I can enter a larger position, which is again why I went for the aggressive attempt. But I stopped out of that aggressive attempt, gave back a little bit of profit, and still in the swing position right now, and just leaving my swing stop alone at 53,000. Because if 53,000 breaks, we lose the daily uptrend, we start weekly consolidation again after only breaking the all-time high by 5%, and I would prefer to be back to all cash during that weekly consolidation. And again, in every video, I'll say the same thing. The monthly time frames in the cryptocurrency space need to have you cautious unless you plan on sitting through monthly consolidation. If that's the case, that's fine. That's part of your game plan. But it's not part of my game plan. I do not want to sit through monthly consolidation. So anytime there's the slightest red flag on daily uptrends being lost, I am going to go back to cash. And again, I don't care if I have to rebuy a little bit higher, leave a little bit of money on the table, because priority number one for me is I am not giving back any of this profit from the start of 2021 and over the last 6 months. Not giving that back. So it doesn't mean we have to consolidate on the monthly. It just means the next time we see monthly consolidation, it will not be surprising in the slightest. So 53.2K is the level that, breaking that level, bulls are going to start to say, uh-oh. And we'll still have a weekly uptrend as long as 43K holds. So I will be watching for the potential of an entry for a weekly high or low compared to that level. But again, it'll just be the most notable loss of the daily uptrend after a new all-time high that we've seen on this entire bull run. And again, the reason is just because the lack of any follow-through on that new all-time high, which shows me bulls getting a little bit exhausted. So not ready to throw in the towel for the bulls just yet, just outlining what would be needed for the notable shift in momentum. And if we don't break 53.2K, then the bulls are just fine. And we're still looking at essentially just 60.1 and then the all-time high as the only resistance levels. What also stands out to me, even though it has been choppy on the 4-hour time frame, is the bulls have consistently closed over this daily EMA 12. Yesterday dipped well below it, but got back above it. Today we're battling to hold that level. And if we continue to hold it, then obviously we're not going to break 53.2K. The dominance chart is still tightening up on the weekly, but it is still favoring the bears, which is still favoring the altcoins. So another weekly lower high has been set at 63.36, and we're just looking down at 60.03 and 59.67 in this tightening range. It's lasted 7 weeks at this point. And I'm going to anticipate that we're going to see a lot of shuffling around. I'm not going to try and guess which direction this chart's going to break in, but we will see a lot of shuffling around once this tightening weekly pattern breaks. We're either going to see a big alt move comparative to Bitcoin, or we're going to see Bitcoin bulls gain a lot of attention comparative to altcoins, which again, in my opinion, well, it could go either way. I was going to say, in my opinion, it would be, a new all-time high and some kind of news that would, maybe another company adding to their balance sheet, but that would have everybody look to Bitcoin gaining dominance in new all-time highs. But if we do see a pullback in the cryptocurrency space, it could just be the altcoins pulling back harder, which lead to a bull break on this chart as well. So again, I'm not going to try and pick the direction or guess the direction, because that's all it would be. We're just going to wait for the direction to break, and we will react to how that break occurs. ETH/USD, sideways, daily support, 1706, 1734. Bulls are hoping for a new daily higher low at 1748. It's an inside bar today that would need to break bullish. So again, just keeping it simple. We got 2 supports and 2 resistances. And here's where those levels are. Our top of this move, our little lower high, daily higher low, and 1706, the low of this pullback. So 2 supports, 2 resistances. We're a little bit closer to support than we are to resistance at this point. And again, Bitcoin's going to dictate things here in the short term. If Bitcoin loses 53.2K, there is a lot of altcoin charts that are going to be setting weekly lower highs in tightening weekly ranges. And ETH is one of those charts. So this is the most common pattern that I'm seeing on altcoins. You're definitely having altcoins like Theta that are all bull that we'll look at, and you have altcoins like Litecoin that are much weaker, but the majority are looking for a weekly lower high if Bitcoin loses 53.2K. So you see the inside bar last week, and we have to see how that breaks this week. Tightening up, watch the volume. Volume is going to be the clue here. Volume has been steadily declining essentially for weeks and weeks. You can just see this orange line is the average 20-day volume, and it's just a slow decline. And you will see when this clear tightening range breaks, a spike in volume to easily get over the 20 days of average volume. So you can set volume alerts, which will tell you something's going on. It's been boring for a week, but that's changing. ETH/BTC getting very tight. The burden of proof is on the bulls, but it's a daily equilibrium. 3272 would have to break for it to be a clear bull break, but it's entirely possible we stay tight in this range while the dominance chart continues to tighten up as well. If this dominance chart breaks this weekly pattern bearish, ETH/BTC is extremely likely to have broken this tightening daily pattern bullish. So keeping an eye out for that as well. Theta/USDT continues to be the lead bull and just a shining example of the spotlight, which is a direct bullish correlation between the US dollar and the Bitcoin pairing, keeping the bulls in complete control, increasing bull volume. This is just your picture perfect chart. I have no idea what Theta even does, in all honesty, but I know that people like it and they're buying. Increasing bull volume on the Bitcoin pairing. And again, when I do this, you can't tell which is which is exactly what the bulls want to see. The BTC pairing is doing the exact same thing, which is when you get these power moves. So the 4-hour uptrend is the guide. Plenty of space for a 4-hour high or low next time we consolidate. Back burner trades, watching for first 5-minute oversold conditions, watching for first hourly oversold conditions, and an extremely strong chart. At this point, obviously it's overextended. So the only bull entries you want to be making are on those back burner bounce trades. And it's the kind of setup where if I'm trading first 5-minute oversold, I'm selling half of my position in the bounce, putting my stop under the low. If it holds and we keep running, great, I've got a good entry. If it doesn't and we start more prolonged consolidation on longer term time frames, then I stop out with no harm done. But I do protect positions when daily charts are this extended. if I'm making any bullish entries. BNB USDT starting to get my attention as well. A bull break of 278 would be even more notable. You can see the daily chart is extremely tight as well. We're testing resistance, but the Bitcoin pairing just broke bull. There's your little early red flag, or should say early, not a red flag, early alert. Pay attention, because the bull break on this Bitcoin pairing is a good sign. Weekly higher low trying to be set. And now the BNB USDT pairing just needs to break 278 to follow along. And then from there, we're looking back up at 315. Tightening weekly range. And the inside bar from last week is trying to break bullish. It just stands out because not many altcoins are seeing a decent green day today and also seeing bull breaks on their Bitcoin pairings. Link USD, weekly time frame continues to tighten up. So no interest in Link as long as that is the case. But I know to be watching for a break of its tightening weekly range. And I'm also watching this Bitcoin pairing falling wedge on the daily time frame, which we've been keeping an eye on for a while. And again, we could go another 2 weeks within this pattern, but we're keeping an eye on it because when it breaks bullish, we will very likely be setting the US dollar pairing weekly higher low as well. And this is the kind of setup where all it takes is one day. Just one big green day can break this pattern bullish. So worth paying attention to. And for Link USD, double top at 31.43 is the most important short-term resistance. ADA USDT, double top at the all-time high. Now the bulls are looking for a daily higher low. 4-hour trend change back to the bulls is needed. It's a bit of a 4-hour falling wedge shaping up. Just got to be careful of that double top. Weekly time frame is tightening up. And really, it's going to be about the ADA BTC chart. Can we confirm a daily trend change with the higher low and higher high? And ADA USDT would obviously like to see that as well. Worth watching for a daily higher low to form in these names, in this name. In these pairings, I should say. So interested in a daily higher low in ADA. Watching Binance because of the Bitcoin pairing bull break. Theta continues in the spotlight. We'll see how long that keeps up. Back burner trades on pullbacks are on watch. Link BTC daily falling wedge on watch over the next couple of weeks until it breaks. And other than that, it's all about 53.2K on Bitcoin. Volume drying up everywhere. Watch for spikes in volume to tell us the boring 1 week range that we've been trading within is breaking convincingly. Without the volume, it's not going to be a convincing break. Hope you had a good weekend. We'll check back in soon. Don't forget to do good things. Have a good rest of your day. So this is how I prep beds for the spring. You can see I just let them overgrow, and these pollinators, these are all weeds, but pollinators certainly need everything they can get in the early spring, and these weeds help pollinate everything. So then I just go through and with my hands pull stuff up. I could use a hoe, but essentially you got to view the soil as its own little universe with microorganisms all throughout it, along with worms and all that good stuff. And the more you disrupt it, really the more damage you do. You definitely can add things to it to make it beneficial, but I've already done that over the past 2 years. And so at this point, I'm trying to be as hands-off with it as possible. And nothing makes me cringe more than a giant field that you just see tilled and then left in the sun to bake. Because what you're doing is you're lifting up all the microorganisms from in the soil, exposing them to the sun, and then they dry out and die. So it's early enough in the spring that I'm not worried about the sun baking my soil. But if it were June right now, I would be pulling all these weeds up, and then with the leaves that I've saved into piles from last year, I would just be putting a layer of leaves on top of this that would just decompose into the soil, but it retains the moisture and it blocks the sunlight from baking everything to a crisp. So just making piles, and those will eventually go into the compost. In this bed, I'm going to plant lettuce and collards and kale and all that good stuff. Pretty much my greens bed. We've got a volunteer garlic, as this was the garlic bed last year, so I'll let that guy do its thing. I'm going to plant some cilantro and dill in this bed. That's rhubarb that I planted last year, and that's a perennial, so it's going to keep coming back every year. And there's also asparagus in here that you don't harvest on year one, so hoping this year I can eat some asparagus for the first time. But there's some space in here, just plugging holes where I can fit other stuff. Do lettuce on this side, and greens on the other side. There's a toad under there. I messed up his home, so I made him a new one.